the majority of Christian denominations have always been against the pre-trib rapture. It's only recently a phenomenon amongst evangelicals and Baptists and Pentecostals to get on this pre-trib rapture. It's new. And even right now, as we speak, it's not the majority position. Now, in the independent Baptists, 99% of them are pre-trib because they've been tricked and deceived, and, that's not my fault. But the bottom line is, I'm not alone on believing that the rapture comes after the tribulation. Because you know what, people actually read Matthew 24 before I was even born and actually just took it at face value. And in fact, I never even taught my wife the post-trib rapture. Never even taught it to her. Because when my wife and I first got married, she was a brand new Christian. She was a brand new believer. And she'd never been in church her whole life except just the Catholic Church as a kid. She went to the Catholic Church and went through the motions. Didn't really learn anything, of course. But she did that as a kid. But she'd never been in church. So I won my wife to Christ. We got married. And she was brand new to the church. And I didn't want to just right away confuse her or just sit there and say like, hey, there's stuff at our church that I don't agree with. And, I wanted her to just come to church and enjoy the church and love the church and grow in the Lord and so forth. And that's what she did. And it was a great church that we went to. And she came and she was growing and she was reading her Bible. And she read her whole Bible cover to cover in like the first 6 months, maybe even a couple times. She was really reading a lot. And she was reading, like I'd come home from work, it's like, oh, I today. I mean, she'd read large sections of Scripture. She's a new believer, just, as a newborn babe, desiring the sincere milk of the Word that she might grow thereby. So about 6 months after we'd been married, she'd already read the Bible a few times, and she'd been reading it. I'd never brought up to her anything about end times prophecy or anything like that. Newlyweds, that's just not really like the big subject, the end of the world. That's not, we were just too happy and having too much fun to be talking about the end of the world. So, here we are, we're 6 months into marriage, and she was volunteering down at the church and volunteering at the Christian school and going out soul winning and stuff like that. She didn't have a job or anything, and she hadn't had kids yet. So she's volunteering down at the Christian school, and in their curriculum, it started making mention of the pre-trib rapture in the curriculum. And she told the child, she said, this is false. And I had never said anything to her. She'd never heard any teacher preach that. She just read the Bible a couple times, like 2 times, whole Bible. She said, no, this is actually false because Jesus said that this would happen after the tribulation. And somebody looked at her really weird and everything. So then my wife came home that day and she said to me, she said, this book, this school book, trying to say that Jesus could come back today and that it's before the tribulation and all this. And she said, do they actually believe that? And, because I got a weird look from somebody when I was correcting this student. And I'm like, yeah, they do believe that, and I was kind of embarrassed, like, the church is pre-trib, and I explained it to her. And that's when I kind of went into it with her and explained it. I just didn't want to hit her with that first thing, it's just other things were more important. Because that's not the most important doctrine. I mean, there are a lot of other more important doctrines than that. But that's just to show you, to sit there and say that, that's some new, crazy, wild idea that, the pre-trib rapture isn't going to happen. Well, guess what? That's what Matthew 24 says. That's what my wife said. And I talked to another friend of mine who was dating a girl who didn't know the Bible very well. And he told her, he said, read the book of Revelation and tell me when you find the rapture. Tell me where the rapture is. Because he said, I want to get it from you because you're untainted. Because you've never been taught anything on this. So just read Revelation and just tell me what you find. And she came at him with Revelation 7. Multitude appearing in heaven. It's clear. It's obvious.